Good day, everyone. So I'm discussing the three topics, which are mergers and acquisitions. The term mergers and acquisition refers to the consolidation of companies or their major business assets through financial transactions between companies. A company may purchase and absorb another company outright, merge with it to create a new company, acquire some of all of its major assets, make a tender offer for its stock, or stage a hostile takeover. All are mergers and acquisition activities. The types of mergers. First is horizontal merger. A merger between companies that are in direct competition with each other in terms of product lines and markets. Second is vertical merger. A merger between companies that are along the same supply chain. For example, a retail company in the auto parts industry merges with a company that supplies raw materials for auto parts. And last is conglomerate merger, a merger between companies in unrelated business activities. For example, a clothing company buys a software company. So let's move on to strategic rationale behind M&A transactions. First is value creation and growth acceleration. Successful entrepreneurs and business owners understand that strategic M&A transactions, including mergers, acquisitions, and alliances, can be used to accelerate growth and add value to a business. So this growth can come from internal sources, often referred to as organic growth, or from the use of strategic transactions. Importance of strategic rationale. The strategic rationale behind an M&A transaction is crucial for both pre- and post-merger activities. It is the foundation for capturing the value that spurred the acquisition, and failure to establish a clear strategic logic can lead to various causes of failure. Next is financial analysis and due diligence. The significance of financial analysis during due diligence is emphasized, as it plays a pivotal role in M&A transactions by allowing the acquiring party to gather vital information about the target company. Financial due diligence is critical for understanding the financial performance and prospects of the business. Next is strategic due diligence. Strategic due diligence tests the commercial attractiveness of a proposed transaction and ensures that the deal's value creation opportunities are thoroughly examined. Customization and alignment with growth strategies. Customizing M&A diligence and integration priorities to align with the specific deal rationale is essential for promoting long-term growth. Types of strategic rationales. Different types of strategic rationales for M&A transactions are highlighted, including efficiency combinations, focus on increasing scale, base cash flow, extension combinations measured by an increase in market share and revenue, and transformational combinations seeking to achieve differentiation with new capabilities. Acquisition strategy and market positioning. The strategic rationale for acquisitions can also involve deepening market positions, gap filling tactics, increasing reach to customers, and strengthening a company's position within a market customer segment. So let's move on to key steps involved in the M&A process, including due diligence and integration planning. Valuation techniques for M&A transactions in investment banking. Several valuation techniques are commonly used to evaluate companies for M&A transactions. These techniques provide a range of values for a business based on different inputs and projections. The primary valuation techniques used for M&A transactions include discounted cash flow analysis. DCF analysis is a method that estimates the value of an investment based on its expected future cash flows. It involves discounting the projected future cash flows of a company to their present value. DCF analysis is a fundamental valuation method used in investment banking for M&A transactions. Second is comparable company analysis. This method looks at similar companies in size and industry and how they trade to determine a fair value for a company or asset. It involves comparing the financial metrics of the target company to those of comparable publicly traded companies. Comparable company analysis is a widely used valuation technique in investment banking for M&A transactions. Third is a precedent transaction analysis. It involves looking at past transactions of similar companies to determine an appropriate value for the target company. This method is often employed in mergers and acquisition transactions and is a key valuation technique used in investment banking for M&A transactions. Fourth is football field chart. Investment bankers often put together a football field chart to summarize the range of values for a business based on different valuation methods used. Fifth is multiple valuation techniques. Different divisions of an investment bank may use a subset of valuation techniques, but often approach the process with entirely different goals in mind. And last is other methods. Other method used to establish a fair value for a target company in an M&A transaction include analysis of accretion, dilution, balance sheet impact, type of consideration offered, and goodwill creation. So let's move on to the second topic, which is investment banking. Investment banking is a type of banking that organizes large, complex financial transactions such as mergers or initial public offering, underwriting. These banks may raise money for companies in a variety of ways, including underwriting the issuance of new securities for a corporation, municipality, or other institution. They may manage a corporation's IPO. Investment banks also provide advice in mergers, acquisitions, and reorganizations. The role of investment banks in capital markets. Investment banks play a crucial role in the capital markets, offering a range of services that facilitate corporate financial activities and transactions. These services include underwriting, mergers and acquisitions, advisory, and financial restructuring. So, in underwriting, investment banks are involved in the underwriting of new stock issues and corporate bond issues, acting as intermediaries between investors and corporations seeking to raise capital through the issuance of securities. They assist corporations in obtaining debt financing by finding investors for corporate bonds and guide them through the process of going public and raising capital. Second is mergers and acquisitions advisory. Investment banks provide advisory services to corporations and institutional clients on mergers and acquisitions, serving as intermediaries between buyers and sellers of businesses. They manage the entire M&A process, offering guidance to both buyers and sellers from the initial stages to the completion of the transaction. And last is financial restructuring. Investment banks also play a role in financial restructuring, assisting companies in reorganizing their financial structure to improve efficiency and profitability. This may involve activities such as debt restructuring, refinancing, and other strategic financial initiatives. Financial products and services offered by investment banks. Investment banks offer a wide range of financial products and services, catering to both individual and institutional clients. Here's a brief analysis of the different financial products and services offered by investment banks based on the provided search results. Sales and trading. Investment banks maintain relationships with institutional and retail clients through their sales departments. Sales professionals act as intermediaries between traders and clients, keeping clients informed about market opportunities and financial products. They also suggest investment strategies or products based on client needs and coordinate with various departments within the bank. Underwriting. Full-service investment banks offer underwriting services, which involve the process of raising capital through selling stocks or bonds to investors on behalf of corporations or other entities. This includes activities such as initial public offerings and secondary offerings, mergers and acquisitions, advisory services. Investment banks provide M&A advisory services, assisting clients with large and complex financial transactions such as mergers and acquisitions. Securities underwriting. Investment banks are involved in securities underwriting, including activities related to IPOs, secondary offerings, direct listings, and debt capital markets. Retail and commercial banking. After the repeal of the Glass-Steagall Act, many investment banks now offer retail brokerage services as well as commercial lending, catering to individual investors and businesses. Capital restructuring. Investment banks offer services related to the restructuring of capital structure, debt, and equity for organizations. Financial advisory services. Investment banks act as financial advisors for large institutional clients, helping them raise capital through the issuance of securities and providing guidance on various financial matters. Investment products. Investment banks offers a wide range of investment products including stocks, bonds, options, derivatives, and other financial instruments for both individual and institutional investors. Valuation techniques used by investment banks to evaluate companies for M&A transactions. The most common method used are discounted cash flow analysis, comparable company analysis, precedent transaction analysis, and asset-based valuation. Each has its strengths and weaknesses, so you must evaluate which will yield the most accurate assessment based on the specifics of your transaction. Discounted cash flow analysis can be applied to most companies and uses financial projections to calculate the net present value of future cash flows. It requires significant data and assumptions but provides an intrinsic valuation. Comparable company analysis examines the valuation multiples of similar public companies to determine a value for the target. It is straightforward but relies on the availability of good comparable and can lead to an inaccurate valuation if the target differs substantially from the comparable. Precedent transaction analysis reviews previous acquisition prices of comparable companies to calculate an implied valuation multiple to apply to the target. It provides a good market-based value but also requires relevant precedent deals which may be scarce. Asset-based valuation tools, the value of a company assets less its liabilities. It is useful when valuing asset-rich companies or those with low earnings but does not capture future potential. And now let's move on to the last topic, which is portfolio management. Portfolio management is how you set yourself up for long-term financial success and stability. Learn how to square your own investments with your time horizon and risk tolerance. So, the process of constructing and managing a diversified investment portfolio. Step 1 is defining investment objectives. The first step in portfolio construction is to define investment objectives. Investors need to have a clear idea of what they want to achieve with their investments. This can be anything from generating income to capital growth, capital reservation, or a combination of all three. Defining investment objectives is essential because it helps investors determine the appropriate asset allocation and risk tolerance for their portfolio. Step 2. Asset allocation. Asset allocation is the process of dividing an investment portfolio among different asset classes, such as stocks, bonds, commodities, and real estate. Asset allocation is crucial because it helps investors manage risk and achieve their investment objectives. The optimal asset allocation will depend on an investor's investment objectives, risk tolerance, and investment horizon. Step 3. Security selection. Security selection involves choosing individual securities within each asset class. Investors need to consider various factors such as financial performance, industry trends, and the overall economic environment while selecting securities. It is essential to diversify within each asset class to minimize risks. Step 4 is portfolio optimization. Portfolio optimization involves using mathematical models to select the most efficient portfolio based on an investor's investment objectives and risk tolerance. Portfolio optimization takes into account various factors such as expected returns, risk, and correlations between different assets. Step 5. Risk management. Risk management is an essential part of portfolio construction. Investors need to identify and manage risk associated with their investments. Diversification is one of the most effective risk management strategies. By diversifying their portfolio across different asset classes and securities, investors can reduce the overall risk of their portfolio. The last step is regular reviewing and rebalancing. Portfolio construction is an ongoing process. Investors need to regularly review their portfolio to ensure that it continues to align with their investment objectives and risk tolerance. Rebalancing involves adjusting the portfolio's asset allocation, to maintain the desired risk and return profile. So in conclusion, portfolio construction is a complex process that requires careful consideration of an investor's investments, objectives, risk tolerance, and investment horizon. By following the steps outlined above, investors can construct a diversified portfolio that aligns with their investment goals and helps them achieve their long-term financial objectives. Regular review and rebalancing are critical to ensuring that the portfolio continues to align with an investor's goals and risk tolerance. The different asset classes. Equities or stocks. Equities represent ownership shares in a company and are typically more appropriate for long-term investing, suitable for those who can tolerate the market's highs and lows in pursuit of higher rewards. They offer the potential for high returns but come with a higher risk of losing the investment. Bonds or fixed income securities. Bonds are issued by companies and governments as a way of raising money and provide a regular stream of income. They are generally considered less risky than equities, as the risk of certain governments defaulting on their bonds is very unlikely, leading to lower payouts. Bonds can offer a fixed amount of interest and may provide investors with a way to offset risk and diversify their portfolio. Alternatives. Alternative investments often have different risk profiles than traditional investments and may offer a low correlation to the market movement of stocks and bonds, providing diversification and risk mitigation potential. Some alternative assets such as real estate or commodities are less correlated with traditional stocks and bonds, making them potentially suitable for mitigating risk. Types of investment vehicles. Mutual funds. Mutual funds are available for a wide range of asset classes and allow you to hold stocks and bonds that are professionally researched and picked by fund managers. Of course, fund managers charge a fee for their services, which will detract from your returns. Index funds present another choice. They tend to have lower fees because they mirror an established index and are thus passively managed. Exchange traded funds or ETFs. If you prefer not to invest with mutual funds, ETFs can be viable alternative. ETFs are essentially mutual funds that trade like stocks. They're similar to mutual funds in that they represent a large basket of stocks, usually grouped by sector, capitalization, country, and the like. But they differ in that they are not actively managed, but instead track a chosen index or another basket of stocks. Because they're passively managed, ETFs offer cost savings over mutual funds while providing diversification. ETFs also cover a wide range of asset classes and can be useful for rounding out your portfolio. In summary, both mutual funds and ETFs represent valuable tools for investors seeking diversification and professional management. The choice between the two depends on individual preferences, investment goals, and considerations such as liquidity, cost, and tax efficiency. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.